Negating modern human challenges. Too many modern humans seemingly care about A. Negating, or B. About reducing our many modern challenges to or focusing on only the few that get attention from the public. We claim that both groups are wrong and or care insufficiently, because in any case there are infinitely many more and also more serious challenges than those few that get attention. On top of this, the myriad of our challenges are much more complex than those very few challenges that are exposed by those that are called or call themselves activists. Despite both their clear insufficiency, they throw mud both of them. One throws alleging that the other one does not care, while the other throws alleging that the other one scaremongers. For instance, activists seem to think, or at least claim, that zeroing carbon dioxide emissions, or even reducing carbon dioxide emissions, will fend off all our threats, or at least our major threat. This is provingly not the case, and besides, there is no clear and realistic and agreed on action plan, or at least there is no ongoing action plan that could stop the ongoing rise of carbon emissions, let alone the rise of also all other greenhouse gas emissions. While NASA research proves that amongst others carbon-agorforests can stabilize or even reduce carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, certain scientists, or rather claimed scientists, claim that planted forests are ineffective, not mentioning that planted forests are not at all carbon-agorforests. At the same time, the general public has insufficient knowledge or depth to make the difference, and to support carbon-agorforests based on what NASA research proves, and this on the scale of one hemisphere. We claim that even if we would make progress, and we don't, and without further understanding we claim we still will get in a perfect storm, that eventually and irreversibly will lead to our extinction, which could take decades or only a few days. It could be assisted by rising temperatures, or by an ice age, and or by one or multiple health crises. We simply do not know. What we do know, or should know, is that we know very little, and show little interest to learn more, for instance from our ancestors, that provingly had clear solutions, and that at least in part this is so because of this lack of the needed knowledge. Consequently, we 8 billion humans are extremely vulnerable to extinction, and that we have no and will not have an action plan in time, nor the means to react in time. Whether the escalation would be in the direction of heat and increasing aridity or in the direction of cold and increasing aridity, we have no sufficient means to react to them, and besides we 8 billion humans are utterly divided and egocentric. We did not solve any of our past disasters, we simply remedy them, and they get ever more expensive, frequent and affecting larger areas simultaneously. We claim the culprit of this blindness is a lack of basic understanding of genetics, associations, and probability that nobody dares to bring it up, this at least so until today. If we would have at least the above, we would detect and recognize our ancestors and how they thrived and solved their challenges. We claim they did for millions of years, while we are getting into a perfect storm in roughly and at best 3-5 decades, or since 1990. None of this basic understanding of genetics, associations, and probability is taught and not even presented to the public, despite this being essential for a wide variety of things, like for biodiversity and even for existence in general. The general public does not even seem to be aware that a lack of biodiversity leads to vulnerability and sources of diseases, and that epidemics on scale could rapidly and irreversibly cause extinction. Quite on the contrary, most that lack knowledge will consider biodiversity as a clear health threat. We should remember that if a tsunami consists of several waves, that it will not suffice to stop the first wave so here and there. We should understand the whole of it, and stop every single important wave of it. Out of America and YDNA, QR and CO. Science proves all these global groups are out of the Americas, while consensus and artificial intelligence claim they are almost all but out of the Americas, except perhaps in relation to YDNA haplogroup Q, which even consensus, at least so on occasions, considers out of America or Native American. Their note out of Americas is not based on any science but simply on the fact that a late and consequential rapid expansion into the Americas is essential for the dogmatic consensus human history that behaves like an improbable sun evolving around the improbable planet out of Africa. Further, let us keep in mind that on top of all this unproven improbability, the Beringia land bridge standstill, is yet a third rather ununderstood essential and possibly the most improbable element of this complex series of unproven improbabilities. Dog videos. That such an important video ends up being a dog. As Enrique, the author of the One Channel in Focus, wittingly, humidly, and humbly calls his important and brilliant videos himself. His channel and videos, as several other important ones, have far too few views and comments than it deserves, and people already interested in the subject deserve, and all people that should be interested in this and yet other subjects should deserve. This at least in comparison to, for example, politics, that at best do not solve, and at worst increase division and all of our challenges and the consequent perfect storm, that the public and even our scientists, or at least most of them, has no idea of, even long after it would have become irreversible. The reason for this subvaluation and subinterest in the channel and videos in focus could be a consequence of some difficult to define or to point out discriminations or violations against or distraction from the true and otherwise brilliant and important human history. Flint Dibble's approach could very well discriminate or even violate, while Graham-Hancock etc. could distract from what is essential. This one feud takes up almost all the internet, and almost certainly distracts, and on top of that divides, which all by itself increases all our challenges and the complexity of the storm, that certainly already is formed, with nobody knowing for sure if it already became irreversible or not. Improbable consensus human history. Regarding the now provingly improbable consensus human history, the general public seems to take away that modern humans, they themselves, are the fittest of all, and do not seem to bother that they, according to the human history they cling on to, are the boring result of an utterly boring random process of random mutations combined with and also boring, not understood and uncontrollable positive selection. We modern humans hardly are able to reproduce without medical intervention. Amazon amarins, even without medical care and basic sanitation, have 6 healthy children per woman, and this is medium, including educated women that have less children. Obviously, they benefit from no medical intervention in order to reproduce. Further, their heart and brain health is the best in the world, and brain degeneration is 7 times slower, this despite suffering the worst possible conditions, which include high inflammatory markers, this because of lack of treatment.